Okay, perfect. So we are here to share how y'all can use some curricula. I know we have 10 minutes, so we're going to put a lot into this 10 minutes. So myself, Dr. Leggette, Dr. Norris, and Ms. Richburg are going to share some curriculum that we developed that can improve communication skills that we believe you can use. So with that, I am going to share with Dr. Leggette. Can you go ahead and tell us about the problem and how we're going to help everybody?
Yeah, so sorry, I just realized I'm actually logged into my husband's account. So I appear as Justin Archer. But anyway, thank you for joining us this morning. One of the problems that we found before we developed this grant were that communication skills were critical to translate scientific information, and students don't have sufficient communication skills, which was documented in a report in 2011. And I was specifically interested in how students across the disciplines in agriculture were using or gaining communication skills, and the lack of faculty's ability to always be able to teach those communication skills. At Texas A&M University, there are 2 required communications writing intensive courses within each major, and so faculty often do not have the opportunity to say yes to teaching or no to teaching those courses. They are just often told that your course will now be communications intensive, or your course will now be writing intensive. And so it really was throwing some of these faculty into situations that they were not comfortable in. So one of my passions then were helping those faculty to be able to teach communication skills and communications information more effectively. So this was funded by USDA back in 2017. So we just now closed out that grant in this year in 2020. Our goal was to enhance the quality of instruction using these reusable learning modules, and specifically within plant science, animal science, and poultry science. And we picked those 3 disciplines based upon being the food animals and or plants that we would consume. And they're all based upon the 7 areas of Crawford et al.'s areas of communications, which they documented in 2011. The curriculum is delivered through face-to-face and standalone delivery modes, as well as having audio, video interactions, and text. So these are the 7 areas that Crawford in their study identified as important or as areas of communication. And I recognize that there are other areas that perhaps are not covered by these 7. However, these were the 7 that they had used in their study. And this was an APLU study that they have since done some follow-up studies for this particular project. But these are the 7 areas that they identified were important. And this most recent study in 2020, I think it was 2020, maybe in 2019, looked at the gaps in these areas and what specific skills students were needing to work on. And so we look forward to using that in some of our additional studies that we do.
Thank you, Dr. Leggette. So again, those are the 7 modules that we have created. There are 2 different ways you can use the materials. We were very excited that is literally freshly posted. We made all the edits and it is available in the library. There are 2 different curriculum ways you can access it. So we're going to talk about those options, how you can access it, and some things to remember about teaching when you're using them. So the first one is using the curriculum as online graded learning activity, which is a SCORM compliant module. So it's a module that can be put into your learning management system, whatever that is, because it will send a quiz into your grade book. The other has to do with in-class lectures. And what I'm telling you here is we were very friendly. Have you ever had somebody that you asked for a presentation and they gave you the PDF? Well, we're giving you the PowerPoint file. We want you to be the expert on that. So the first option, again, is what we call SCORM compliant. So it basically means that it will fit within your LMS. So this is a screen capture of what it would look like. We have worksheets in there that are fillable PDF files. If you're wanting to use it that way, that's more, I would call it the easy way to do it. You just put it in your learning management system, and if your LMS accepts it, it will put a quiz in your grade book. And then you can have them submit the PDF file to you as a gradable item. this is an example. There's little quizzes in there, you get feedback. And so hopefully we tried to make them interactive. And so again, there's one of these for each of the 7 topics. For the in-class face-to-face, or what I call making you the expert, there's a zip file that's available that you download and unzip, and it has all these files I'm talking about. So it has the PPT files, it has handouts, it has answer keys. Now the key about the answer keys, we're working with the library for those to be in a separate section so that your students can't go to the library and get all the answer keys. So those will be put in a separate area, and that's important. So when you think about that, there is a teaching guide that's available that will guide you through. There's also a content checklist that you can use to say, I want to use this, I don't want to use this. I'm going to use their video, but on this one, I'm going to do my own lecture and read the scripts and kind of be familiar with the content. We want you to be the expert if you want to be the expert. And so we also have these little prompts within there that tell you what you probably want to be doing. Of course, you can modify that however you want to. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to Audra, and Audra is going to tell you how can you get hold of these materials. We've also posted a link that has handouts available for you. Go right ahead, Audra.
Thank you, Dr. Murphrey. So if you are thinking that this is going to be a great resource for you and you want to try to find it, there are basically 2 ways that you can go about it. And I want to draw your attention to the handouts link in the chat. If you click that link, then you will be able to find these written instructions, description of the modules, and teaching tips if you want those in text later. And I also want to encourage you to open up a browser window at this time if you want to walk through the links right now. So let's get started with the direct search. So if you go to oaktrust.library.tamu.edu, this is the section of the library that is hosting our materials for us. And on that page, you're going to be able to click on faculty teaching materials, which should then bring up a search box. And to find these materials, you can search by author with any of us authors. You can search by one of the titles or the subjects of the module you want to teach, or you can just type in communication and agriculture, and then everything should come up for you. So the second way you can do it is going to be through the project website, which I've also put the link in the chat for us. And so you'll see on the screenshot on the page that we have a clickable link for each of the module titles. And if you click on those links, it will actually take you directly to that page on the Oak Trust A&M Library's website. We have a little bit more information about the topics and what we're trying to teach with each of the modules there also, if that would be beneficial. And so either way you choose, whether you go through a direct search at the A&M libraries or you go through our project website, once you find the page for that particular module you want to use, this is what you should see. And underneath the logo towards the left of the page, you'll see the instructions. We highly encourage you to read that PDF. It's not very long, but that will tell you what you need to know and what choices you can make within each module. So whether it's the number of assignments, any particular context you need to provide, all that information will be there. And then you can also click on the online module to download that zipped SCORM file as Dr. Murphrey was describing. Or if you decide you want to teach the face-to-face curriculum, then you can download and unzip that file as well. And that should be, hopefully that should do it.
Shannon?
Yeah, I'm going to keep my video off to try to make sure the internet works. And so I love this working from home business. But I just want to, if we're thinking about an international and an agricultural extension education, we've got a couple of key pointers that you can help apply this in your classrooms or in the different audiences that you're working with. So as you're applying these modules into your audiences, one recommendation that we or an announcement to students, reminding them of expectations. Content and to gauge that expectation from the beginning. And
And I think, Shannon, your
on
audio,
topics and
go right ahead.
I'm sorry, guys, and topics and assignments to complete, and then being aware of time for each of the module. Consider which portions to use for graded assignments. And then finally, if you're using the face-to-face option, we encourage you to make it your classroom. Our final piece as we're running this conversation is 3 on ways you can use this through an AIAE. So getting communication skills solid for students as they go into a study abroad component, and then helping them have conversations with students about for the students.
Thank you, Shannon. And so the audio is cutting up just a little bit. And so I want to make sure, basically what we want to make sure y'all know is that you can actually contact us if you have questions. There's resources provided on the handout page. I'm not even quite sure on time, Dr. Bush, but I bet we're at our 10-15 minute type mark. And so does anybody have any questions for us? I'm actually going to hit stop sharing the screen so we can all see each other. First of all, I also want to say it is so nice to see everybody's faces. I recognize so many faces, and it is really nice that y'all came and everything. And so does anybody have any questions for us? If you raise your hand, we'll be happy to call on you, or to be honest, feel free to speak out. I mean, if you have a question for us. Does anybody think they might use them? Feel free to. You can also use them for your own kids or your family members who you think need to communicate better, just so you know. It's available. It is widely accessible. The other project we're working on now is we're actually creating materials for high school kids. And so these are for college, and we're creating some for high school. And so if that's something that interests you, feel free to reach out to us and we'd be happy. Again, the big thing to notice is you will find, if you go there, that you will find not only PowerPoint files, but you'll find Word files and Word files you can actually use versus things that you can't use. And it's open access. And any articles we've used, we've cited them or asked permission for them to be in there. And we've worked with the library on that. We really want y'all to use it. We don't want it to just sit on the shelf. And there's quizzes. You can use the quizzes yourself if you want to put them in your own Quizlet. So however you want to use those materials, we want it for the betterment of society and the betterment of our individuals, so we can communicate better in the context of ag. And so if you look at that, the examples are, as what Dr. Leggette said, they're in the context of animal science, plant science, and poultry science, because we were trying to put them in the context of agriculture. With that, send me questions if you have them. Dr. Bush.